Hi, so come and stand on your mat and we will do some work with our feet today. So once you are on your mat, sorry, I'm just getting my phone ready. You are just going to stand up for a second. If you prefer to be sitting down or lying down, you can choose that as well. And whether your eyes are open or your eyes are closed, just come to notice how it feels to be in your body. So whatever might be feeling good, whatever might be feeling twingy, whatever might be feeling painful, whatever might be feeling tight, whatever might be pulling. And this is not an exhaustive list. So if there are other sensations in your body, I'm just trying to highlight the idea that it's not a dichotomy, it's not a binary, it's not good or bad, but there are variables and lots of options in terms of how things feel in our body. And regardless of whether you are standing up or sitting down, come to notice the places where your body is in contact with a surface. So it can be the surface of your clothes, it can be the surface of the chair or the floor. And then where your body is dropping its weight to the earth. And there might be places where there is contact, but it's not where the body is dropping its weight into the ground or the seat. And as you slowly begin to come into movement, if you are sitting down, you might now want to stand up, or if you are lying down, you might now want to slowly come to standing. And once you are in a standing position, you can slowly try and keep the body sort of in a straight line as if you were for a second a tree. So your feet are your roots, and your entire body is like the trunk of a tree that slowly, very baby tree, that gets swayed slightly forward in space and swayed slightly back in space. And as you begin to sway the body forwards and back, or if you want to from side to side, just begin to notice how the weight changes on your feet and how maybe you become more attuned to when there is contact, which is different to when there is weight dropping through any one surface or multiple surfaces of. And you can even, if you want to, and you can do this eyes open or eyes closed, sort of transfer your weight in a circular motion across your feet. And if you've only been moving in one way, or if you have been moving in circles only in one direction, you can change the direction. And if the balance feels like it's something you want to try today, what happens if you try and do this with your eyes closed as opposed to with your eyes open? And then when it feels right, you can sort of stop in whatever position feels all right to you. And again, with the awareness in the feet, I'm going to turn sideways on. You can bend the knees a little and bring the chin into the chest and see if you can follow the sensations down the back of your body. Maybe it starts in the head and then comes into the neck, and then from the neck transfers to the upper part of the back. But as you roll down your spine, as you roll the top of the head to the floor, the chest towards the legs, how have the sensations in the back of the body changed? And how does the weight change in the feet? And once you get to whatever your maximum forward fold is, comfortable forward fold is, can you again try and tip the weight slightly forward and tip the weight slightly back, or tip the weight more to the right foot and then more to the left. And again, if you want to do tiny circles,
Again, notice if you're choosing to do this with your eyes open, if the choice of doing it with your eyes closed is available to you. And notice if there's a tendency to find space between the chin and the neck, and see if you can almost draw the chin in towards the neck a little bit. And then try and find where the weight feels centered on the feet. And push through the feet as if you were dropping weight through the legs directly towards the earth, and then slowly beginning to find the place where the spine needs to rest, one vertebra on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, so that the weight sinks down through the bones all the way to the feet. And so the muscles can maybe do a little bit less than they're used to doing. We're going to do that again, the roll down and roll back up. And this time, bring the awareness to the feet. So with the attention on the feet, roll the chin back into the chest. And as you roll through the spine, can you notice how the weight shifts on your feet? It might shift more to one leg or the other if you have a preference for one leg. It might shift more forward or more back. Whatever happens, can you try and bring the weight slightly more to the center of the heel of the foot, and then keep moving down in space. So as you notice weight shifting on the feet, try and bring the weight more towards the center of the heel, evenly distributed through left and right, and then keep rolling down. And when you get down, if you notice that there's more weight on your toes or more weight on one foot relative to the other, again, see if you can shift the weight slightly more to the heels. That doesn't mean that the front of the foot is lifting off the ground, but that more of the weight is sinking through the heel of the foot as opposed to the toes of the foot. And with that same awareness, can you push through the heels as if the heels were sinking below the surface of the mat, sinking below the surface of the floor, and roll once again back up by pushing weight through the heels. And again, if you notice that you're shifting weight more towards the toes, or more to the left, or more towards the right, can you center yourself with the weight more through the heels, and then start moving up through the spine again once you've done that. And as you come back up to standing, just again, can you come in again and feel the feels that the body tells you. So what feels tight, what feels painful, what feels twingy, what feels nice. And again, if there were some areas of the body that were particularly loud in your sphere of attention before, how loud is the volume on that feeling in that part of the body now relative to before? I'm going to turn to face forward. Once again, you can sort of stay as you are. And bring the feet slightly wider. And notice that you can shift the weight as if you were sort of on skis onto the inner edge of one foot and the outer edge of the other. And then you can rotate to do the rest. And so the knees kind of follow. You want to make sure that the toes are pointing in a direction that makes this okay for your knees. Do not stress your knees out. But begin to notice that you kind of have different surfaces of the feet. That maybe the outer edge of the foot has a more continuous point of contact with the floor when you get there, relative to the inner edge of the foot, where even when you're on the inner edge of the foot, the arch doesn't quite press into the floor the same way. And then see if you can come onto the inner edges of both feet. And again, whatever direction the toes need to point for you to do this. And then see if you can keep the inner edges, so ball of the foot and inner edge of the heel pressing into the mat. And then imagine that you're like flaring the toes out
widening the balls of the feet so you can get the outer edge of the foot back to the mat without lifting the inner edge of the foot off the mat. So it doesn't look like a lot, but you might feel a lot of muscles in your leg firing up. And you can do that again. Roll a little bit more onto the inner edge of the foot, maybe the outer edge of the foot feels very light on the mat. And then keep the inner edge of the foot glued and pressing down towards the mat. And imagine that you're spreading the ball of the foot out, spreading the entire sole of the foot out so you can get the outer edge of the foot down without lifting the front or inner edge of the foot. You can bend the knees, you can keep the legs straight. To what extent can you come down, keeping the spine extended? And again, can you roll the weight slightly more to the heels? Can you bring the weight slightly more to the toes? And what does that change in the way that the muscles in the legs are working? And what I'd like for you to do is find a place where you can feel the legs in the back, the muscles in the back of the leg working more. So where do you need to have the weight on the feet to feel the muscles working more at the backs of the legs? And then push down once again through the heels and see if you can hinge up to slowly lift the entire spine back up to vertical. So before we were rolling down through the spine, and now we're sort of trying to hinge at the hips. And it is virtually impossible to keep the spine exactly with the same alignment as when you're standing, but you're kind of trying to do that so that you're tilting the tailbone so that the entire spine is hinging forward. And again, you're trying to notice where the spine starts, the actual spine starts flexing as opposed to me flexing at the hips. And where do I need to keep the weight in my feet to feel the backs of the legs firing a little bit more? And once I found that position, can I push through the heels once again and then slowly use that downward pressure of the heels to bring the entire spine all the way back up to the knee. And then you can release the work through the feet, bring them back more or less under your hips, whatever spine seems like a natural position for your feet to be, slightly closer together than they were before. And if you want to, you can close your eyes or you can keep them open. And again, you're just checking in. What does the body feel like? Maybe there are more sensations now. There's more awareness of where there are muscles. Maybe the temperature in some or all parts of the body has changed. Maybe there's an awareness of muscle tone in a way that there wasn't before. And then you're gonna come and find a bowl. And if you don't have a bowl handy, I will show you what you can do with your hands. I'm just gonna show people who have the bowl what to do with the bowl. And if you have a bowl, you might wanna come up against a wall, or if not, and you're just gonna roll the entire sole of the foot out on the bowl. You can see that it's kind of spontaneous. There's no recipe for it, other than you're just going to follow the body and do what it wants to do. If you don't have a ball, come down on the floor and see if you can massage out the entire sole of the foot. So if you are massaging out the entire sole of the foot, then can you make sure that you come and massage the heel, and whether you're doing it with the thumb or a fist or the balls of the fingers, that is totally up to you. If you are standing up and you have a ball, then can you slowly sort of start tipping the weight into the foot that's on the ball on an exhale, and then inhale, bring the weight off the foot. Exhale, come with the weight onto the foot, onto the ball. Exhale, inhale, come off it. And while who is massaging their foot is gonna slowly find different places to massage on the foot itself. If you are standing up, every time you exhale and bring a little weight onto the foot, you're going to find a different place on the foot. You're going to find the ball slightly moving under the foot, so that each time you're bringing weight and slightly massaging a different part of it. If you are using your hands, you are literally just massaging the entire ball of the foot. Maybe, like as if there were a ball, you can push the thumb across the ball of the foot, as if you're trying to create a little bit of space across the top part of the foot where the toes hook into the foot. And once you have done that, you can then massage the heel a little bit, massage the ankle a little bit. And whether you were using a ball or whether you were massaging, we're going to bring yourself back up to standing. And yes, I know we have just done one foot, but again, now that you have stopped the pressure with the foot on the ball, now that you've stopped massaging the foot, if you bring the feet back towards the earth, how does the foot that was on the ball or that you were massaging feel? And if you track up that entire side of the body, how does that entire body feel? And if you do the same exploration on the other foot, how does that feel? And again, you can track from the foot up the body and see if the sensations sort of get transferred to other parts of the body or not. There might be very different sensations in the foot that was massaged relative to the foot that wasn't. And the sensations that are different might go beyond the purely physical. So maybe there's a better sense of stability. Maybe there's a different appreciation for your breath. And then we're going to come do the same thing on the other foot. So if before I was demonstrating the massage, this time I'm going to stay standing with the ball. If you don't have a ball, obviously you bring yourself back to the floor and you massage the entire base of the foot like you did before. If you are standing up, you're going to first do this sort of very spontaneous, as if you were painting the bottom of your foot with the surface of the ball. We used to do this as kids, that you would paint the surface of your feet and then you leave an imprint of your foot on the floor, on paper. So make sure that the entire, and even the bottoms of the toes, are well covered in the paint, whether the ball is blue and that's your favorite color, or whether it's green, or you can just imagine what color you're painting the bottom of the foot. And then you're going to rest the heel on the floor and keep the ball underneath the front of the foot. And you're going to tip the weight into the foot that's on the ball on an exhale, and inhale, take it off. So exhale, drop some weight, inhale, lift it off. And it's some weight because you will decide how much weight feels, or rather your foot will tell you how much weight feels okay and how much weight might be too much. And so you do this a few times. You exhale onto the ball, you inhale off the ball. Maybe each time the ball finds a slightly different location on your foot. And similarly with your hand, you might find that you can, whether it's with a fist or with a thumb, press the fist or the thumb gently into different parts of the bottom of the foot. So you're kind of getting the foot to sort of be molded around the shape of whatever it is that you are gently pressing into, whether it's the ball or whether it's your thumb or your fist. And if there's a place that's particularly interesting, you can maybe repeat that place a few times, but don't overdo it. The idea is not to knead it out like bread. It's just to sort of be curious to notice what happens when you bring contact, whether it's with the ball or with your hands, onto that other. And then at some point, you are going to, if you are on the ball, release the ball. If you're with your hand and there are other parts of the foot that feel like they want to be touched, you can massage maybe the ankle or some other part of the foot, back of the foot, base of the foot. And when you do bring yourself back to standing, once again, just notice, how does the foot that was just massaged feel? If there's a memory of what it felt like before the massage, what are the qualitative differences? Does the foot rest differently into the mat? Does the rest of the body stack up on top of the foot in a different way And whatever feels most comfortable to you, you can try one of those forward folds that we did before. So either you're forward folding through the spine, i.e. rolling the chin to the chest and following the motions through the spine, or you are forward folding from the hips, which is what we did with our feet, a little bit wider. But whatever way you choose to forward fold, you once again have your attention in the feet. And notice how the weight shifts on them. Whether it's forward and back, whether it's left to right, can you keep the weight centered more over the heel and more over the outer edge of the feet, as opposed to allowing the weight to roll in towards the ball of the big toe? Whatever your maximum forward fold is, whether you're coming down with a rounded spine or whether you're keeping the spine extended, when you reach that point, you roll the weight back into the heels. Push through the heels so that maybe you feel the backs of the legs charging up a little bit more. And then slowly roll yourself back. Or extend, keep the spine extended as you bring yourself back up to a vertical. Let's take a few breaths here once again. And choose the distance that you want between the feet. Maybe it's neither perfectly together nor more than hip width apart. Maybe you want to find somewhere that's in between the two. I'm going to turn sideways again. And the idea this time is that you're going to bend the knees and flex the hips. So before we were coming down with the spine extended, but keeping the legs rather straight. This time you're going to keep the spine extended, but bend the knees as you come down and keep the weight back in the. So notice that you can shift the weight into the front of the toes, or you can keep the weight in the back of the heels. And it'll create a different articular and muscular activation. So try that a few times and bring the weight slightly more into the toes, more into the ball of the foot, and then more into the heel of the foot. And I'm gonna guess that we are more used to having our weight in the ball of the foot, so I'm going to invite you to keep the weight where it feels less obvious. So for me, that's in the heel. And see if you can sink a little bit lower, but not come forward with the knee. And then again, push through the heels and allow the spine to come back up to vertical as the hips come back over the heels. And we're going to do that one more time. So maybe you want to lift up onto the toes and then come back down onto the heels. Maybe you want to, for a second, lift the toes up, find your balance on the heels. I'm lifting my hands up so you can see that. Trousers for the Brits and all that. And then once again, come back up onto the toes, and then come back onto the heels. And you will notice how much your body sways in space, forward and back, as you do that. And because we are used to wearing heels, we are again probably more accustomed to this than we are to this or to this. I mean, we would hardly ever have our heels lower than our toes unless we're walking up a hill. So again, find the weight slightly more in the heels. And bring the hands onto the lower back, onto the sacrum even. And as you bend the knees, you're going to want to sort of tilt the fingertips up along the wall behind you so that you can tell that your tailbone is coming up. Notice that as the tailbone comes up, you're going to want to shift the weight forward. Can you keep the weight a little bit further back? And again, you're just going to stay here and see if you can bend a little bit lower. And again, keep the knees back in space. Notice if the knees are coming very far over the tips of the toes. And again, notice if the knees are collapsing inwards. So notice if the knees are doing that. And that very often means that the weight has rolled into the inner edge of the foot. See if you can find the outer edge of the foot and the heel a little bit more, and what does that do for your knees? And then I'm going to turn sideways once again. Can you roll down from the bottom of the spine so that you're rolling out the lumbar spine and then the thoracic spine and then the cervical spine and the chin of the left into the neck. It's kind of the opposite of what we normally do. Once you get here, if you want to, you can
stretch out the legs a little bit. See where they want to go. And here you can maybe flex the knees a little, keep the weight into the heels, then maybe stretch the knees out a little, keep the weight into the heels. So, and then see how you want to bring yourself to the floor. And when you bring yourself to the floor, what does your spine want to do? Mine wants to stretch out a little bit in whatever direction feels good to you. So maybe it's from side to side, maybe it's forward and back, maybe it's in a slight circular motion. And once that feels good in your body, you're going to roll down and you're going to bring your belly to the floor. And once your belly's on the floor, you're going to find whatever is a comfortable resting position for your head. So whether it's to the side, which is what I'm doing now, so you can hear me, or it might be with your forehead somehow towards the floor. And it might not rest comfortably on the floor. It doesn't in my case. I have a rather pronounced nose. So hands stacked one on top of the other normally gives me a nice resting place for my forehead. Once you have found whatever is your comfortable resting place for your forehead, can you bring your attention to the bones of the pelvis? And can you notice if the weight is in the bones at all, or whether you feel the weight going more through the skin and the organs of the belly, or the thighs? And what you're going to do is move the legs however you need to, in order to see if you can find the pubic bone at least resting on the mat. And once you have found the pubic bone resting on the mat, can you then bring your awareness to the breath? And with your awareness on the breath, can you notice the movement of your belly, moving towards the floor and then maybe coming away from the floor? And it'll do that sort of synchronized with the breath. And if you have had your forehead on the backs of your hands, you're going to let the forehead, you're going to need to tuck the chin in a little bit more towards the neck so that the forehead can come to the floor. If you've had a cheek to the floor, again, can you roll the forehead towards the floor and bring the hands underneath the shoulders? With the hands underneath the shoulders, I'm lifting my head so you can hear me, but ideally you're keeping your head on the floor. With your forehead resting on the floor, can you roll the shoulders up towards the ears, then up towards the ceiling, then down towards the feet, then down towards the floor? So it's forward and up and back, back and down, and then forward and up and back, back and down. So you're kind of drawing sort of little circles with the shoulders. I should be more specific, with the shoulder blades. And I, for example, notice that my left shoulder blade doesn't move quite as happily as my right shoulder blade does. So notice if there's a difference between the way one shoulder blade moves and the other shoulder blade moves. And you don't have to try and fix or correct anything, you just notice if there are differences. And then notice if there is a particular position of the shoulder blades where the chest feels a little bit more spacious, but you are not closing down the back, right? Because if I want to, I can completely open up the chest, but then there's maybe a lot of tension and rigidity behind the heart. And if I keep it completely spacious behind my heart, then maybe my shoulders are rolling forward and I feel my chest a little bit closed and tucked in on itself. So find the middle ground between those two extremes. And then can you push through the pubic bone to lift the legs off the floor? And as the legs lift off the floor, maybe the upper back feels pulled in towards a little bit of an arch. Even if the hands are light, you're not actually pushing off the hands. It's more that there's a chain of muscles that connects from the feet all the way to the back of the neck and the head. And then rest everything back down again. Find whatever is a comfortable resting position for your head. Maybe roll the hips out from side to side. Take a few deep breaths. Maybe once again notice the movement of the belly as it meets the earth more closely, as it slightly rolls away from the earth. It becomes lighter and there's pressure on the earth. And if the comfortable position for your head is turned to the side, then once again, you're going to find a position for the hands underneath the shoulders. You're going to roll the forehead towards the floor. You're going to find that little circular motion of rolling the shoulders up towards the ears, then up towards the sky, then down towards the heels, then down towards the floor. So it's up and forward, and then it's forward and up, and then up and back, and then back and down. When you do that a few times, again, looking for that balance between where there is a sense that you're drawing the shoulder blades away from the chest so that the chest can open, but without tightening them so hard behind the back that the back tightens or closes. And once you've found that balance, then can you again find the weight of the pubic bone through the mat, push down through the pubic bone, and see if by lifting up the backs of the legs, lifting up through the heels, you can almost feel like a baby cat getting lifted up through the back of the neck. The hands are resting on the earth, they're not pushing through the earth, and then you're going to come all the way back down. If you have been turning your head to the side, see if you can rest the other cheek on the floor. See once again if you want to roll the hips from side to side. And then notice if you're clenching through your jaw. See if there's space through which you can maybe not be clenching quite so much through your jaw. And then you're going to extend one arm along the floor overhead, just so you can roll onto that side to roll onto your back. Now, if you are really comfortable belly down, you can stay belly down. If halfway through the roll, you find that your body wants to be on one side, you can stay in a fetal position on the side. If you are happy to come on your back, then you can roll onto your back. There's really no better position than the one that is most comfortable for you right now. So find whatever that comfortable position is for you. And once again, you just tap into how it feels to be in your body. And I'm just going to throw out a couple of words. The words or these sensations might be present in your body. If they're not, maybe you hear the word and it becomes more clear that your sensation is something else. So notice where there's contact between the body and the earth. Notice where there is weight through the bones into the earth. Or maybe not through the bones, maybe it's through some other part of the body. Or some other tissue of the body, I should say. Notice again if there's something that feels spacious. Notice where there might be something twinging. Where it might feel like something is pulling. Or it might feel like something is still activated.
Notice if there's a place where there is pain. And if there's anything that you can do right now to alleviate any sensation that doesn't feel comfortable, then maybe do it. And if that means changing position completely, go ahead and change the position completely. And once you have found whatever the more comfortable place is, and again, just check in with those sensations in the body. Check in with the sensations on a more emotional level. Do I feel safe here? And should the answer be no, then again, is there something that you can do right now that would make you feel safer? That might mean that the hands find a contact on the body. That might mean that you grab a pillow or a blanket. And once it feels as safe as can be right now, once the body is as comfortable as can be right now, I come and notice the breath. Maybe aware of how long the in-breath is or the out-breath. Not because I'm dragging it in or trying to make it any longer than it would be naturally, but to the extent possible, I'm just observing the inflow and the outflow of the air. Whether I do that by noticing the passage of the air in the nostrils, the feeling of the air coming through the throat, the movement of the chest that rises and falls as the lungs fill and empty air. And on a more subtle level, what does it feel like to be breathing right now? What does it feel like to be aware right now? And as if I had the dial of a radio, to what extent am I still tuning into the frequency of my thoughts? And to what extent can I say that I am present to or tuning into the frequency of my body? Another way of asking that might be to ask myself, am I in my body right now? It doesn't necessarily, the response of confusion to that question is fine. That is an awareness of confusion, which one of my teachers would explain as a form of clarity. So if I don't know what it means to be in my body, having identified that I don't know what it means to be in my body is a good place to be. Maybe there's some awareness that I'm present to some parts of my body more so than others. Or maybe I'm just aware that my mind is very loud and that all my attention is in my thoughts. Whatever clarity has come by asking myself that question, and I bring my attention once again back to the ebb and flow of the inhale. And from the movement
that happens spontaneously in the body as a result of the breath coming into the lungs and moving back out of the lungs. So I'm going to be an invitation to move again. If I start paying attention to the inhale and the exhale, even start lengthening the inhale and the exhale. In response to maybe that larger movement of the breath with the longer inhale, deeper exhale. What wants to move? And whatever wants to move, can you move it slowly? In a sort of snail-like fashion. Whatever position you're in, can you slowly roll yourself onto one side if you're not already there? And whether you have just arrived there or whether you have always been there, can you rest for a few breaths on your side? And then for on your side, maybe one knee needs to come slightly further into the chest. Maybe you need to roll your gaze, your chin, your chest slightly more towards the floor so that you can spiral then from there back up to sitting. And once you are in a position where your spine is vertical, whatever it is that your legs are doing, maybe they're stretched out, maybe you are sitting on something as opposed to just being on the floor. You can, for a second again, just observe how the breath moves in the body now that the body is in this position. And once again, observe again in that sense of as if I had a radio dial and I'm more tuned in to the frequency of my mind, or to what extent am I in my body. And there might be a shift when you come back up to vertical. And if you keep that awareness going, what happens when you open your eyes again? Thank you.